What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. You know who this is. It's the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight we got a special one for you guys. We got the one, the only John Davis from Power Slap League in their fucking house tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Get a round of applause going. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm excited. You know what? I've been seeing a lot of these Power Slap clips coming up, and the first time I seen Mr. Davis, he was absolutely like slapping the shit out of this dude and knocking him unconscious. And I was like, I got to find out more about this, and I got to find out more about this dude. So, I hit him up and we made this thing happen, and the podcast is going to go down very soon. But without further ado, I need to take a quick second to tell you all about our sponsor, Health Vape. Now, Health Vape is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. And they are vitamin infused. They're like vaping a friggin' Red Bull. So go and check them out, healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, wherever you are finding us, I appreciate you for tuning in. If you're tuning in on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified, tap the link, and tap in, baby! Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. It helps with our analytics, helps us grow, helps us bring more amazing conversations to more amazing people like yourselves. So get to tapping, and let's get into this conversation with the one and only Mr. John fucking Davis. Yeah! John the Machine Davis in the house. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you for having me, brother.
Man, I'm excited to have you on. As I said in the intro, bro, when I first sort of saw you was on social media and the Power Slap League, I'd heard about it. I'd started seeing more and more clips. And I was like, you know what, man, this guy looks like a badass motherfucker, bro. I need to get this guy on and have a conversation.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the compliment.
No problem at all, man. But look, man, getting into it, bro, you grew up, in Ohio, right? On a farm in Ohio?
Yes, sir. Northeast Ohio is actually Homeworth, Ohio. You can't find that pretty much anywhere more than likely, but grew up on a farm, ostrich farm for the most part, but we had cows, horses, all the knickknacks of whatever you want animal wise. So for a long time, at least, hard work was just the way of life, and that's just how you got things done.
And, growing up, on a farm, what was that like? Yeah, was it, obviously, a lot of work, consistently, school, come home, chores, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it wasn't so much like the poor kids stuck on dairy farms, because those people I shout out to, because they're slinging milk every day, man, every day, no breaks. But there was always something that needed to be done. And even as a little kid, even if I didn't get asked for the most part, I just, followed lead of whoever was doing something and tried to give a hand for the most part. I had pretty good examples, family and then family friends of the most part of, what you should and shouldn't be doing, even though I did a lot of this stuff you shouldn't, but not at that point in time. But, the work ethic thing was definitely, especially now as an adult, I can look back and I can start to pinpoint more and more people in my life that, showed me that working hard is definitely a good way to get things done, and people are going to respect you. And if they don't, at the end end of the day, that's their problem. So who gives a shit?
Yeah, 100%, man. That's just, I think that's been, raised by some real ones right there, man. You know what I mean? Like, because in life, bro, you can't please everybody. There's always going to be someone who it takes issue with what you do, whether it's personally, professionally. There's always someone who doesn't like something that you do. So like I said, you can't please everyone. As long as at the end of the day, you're happy and you're happy with the choices that you make in life, that's kind of the most important thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I can sleep great at night, as little sleep as I might get. I still sleep great. And I can lay my head down during the middle of the day and take a nap if I need to. I got no worries about that.
But that's the thing, man. Like I've got a friend of mine who has a saying, and he's like, man, if they don't feed you, fuck you, or finance you, I don't care about your opinion.
Absolutely. If you're not under my roof in any way, shape, or form, or we're not in a daily contact just because we want to keep talking, or we don't reach out every so often just to check on one another, because I've still got buddies that if I don't hear from you for 6 months, pick up right where you left off. But you can tell people's intentions, and you can really feel people's energy with what they're coming at you with. So at the end of the day, if you're cut off, that's on you. And if you don't understand why, then you might not ever figure that problem out. But the support system I've been able to build around myself, especially in recent years, on top of obviously my wife and kids, like it's been amazing. And the more I actually have received a lot of support from the Power Slap League recently, people messaging me randomly that I don't even know, people from Russia, like I trying to decipher messages to respond to people. And people that I had lost contact with 10, 15 years ago, one today said, I'm so motivated watching you and talking to you now, like he's going to go to the gym. And I just, I was like, wow, I never would have guessed that I would have had that much of an impact on somebody's life to, help them in a way. And that's really what I want to do with a lot of this stuff. There's a lot more to, what I have going on planned than just the Power Slap League itself. But it's definitely going to be here, even though people may have some controversial opinions about that.
I mean, like, we look at the Power Slap League, right? And, to me, like, the first, like, seeing of it, like, we were talking before, like, I have a background in combat sports, in boxing and Muay Thai and stuff like that. And like, I think the biggest issue, like, that a lot of, like, the purists would say, the pure pugilists, if you want to call it that, would be, like, that it's an unprotected shot, right? You know what I mean? Like, and people say, like, boxers can take up to, I think Dana White said, like, 400 punches in a match. Okay, great. But like those 400 punches that are like get thrown, how many of them are landing on the head? Because if they're 400 punches thrown, like you're connected to in a single night in a fight, let's face it, like your career is going to be very short.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I think a lot of it, again, I'm no scientist or doctor by any means, but I do think a lot of it has to do with the type of person, that like your genetics, I think, come down to it a lot. Because I was just listening to Paul Felder on Joe Rogan the other day, saying him getting his brain scans and him asking why, after all the wars he'd been through, and the bloodbath and the head trauma that he's taken, why was he having no issues and nothing showing up and other people were? I think it's a lot like, some people can handle drinking, some can't. Some people's diets need to be a certain way, some people's can't. Because if we're that worried about everyone getting hit in the head, which, believe me, it is a concern. There's a lot of safety precautions that I'm sure a lot of folks aren't, too keen on even hearing about, that we are getting done before we even can get a plane ticket sent our way to go down there. So, but it's one of those things. If we're all going to get to the point where we're nitpicking stuff, don't let kids play football ever, because you have Pee Wee League on up. So there's 12 years minimum that you could give a child continuous. Like, what are, that's the argument that I'm going to bring up, because I played football forever.
Yeah.
So if you're concerned about me now, where were you when I was playing football as a child and a teenager?
And you know what I'm saying? Like, I can remember playing football. I played football from the age of 9 up until the age of 19.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I was concussed, like I was a small kid, you know what I mean? Like I was a small kid, but I was solid. So I was put in positions against guys that were a lot bigger. So like I took a lot of punishment. I got a lot of injuries through that time. and concussed as well. Like I understand that. It's like even now, like my eldest son who's 6 plays rugby league, which is a contact sport. He's played for the past 2 years. Learning how to tackle, learning how to like play the ball, all that sort of stuff, right? And at the end of the season last year, I get told by the coach, "Oh yeah, we're going to be playing touch. It's going to be grab football next year. It's not going to be tackle. It's like you just grab them 1, 2, 3, and then like they stop." And I'm like, well, hold on a second. And I'm like, well, how long is that for? And they go up until they're about 9 or 10. And I'm like going, okay, so I've just spent 2 years teaching my son how to play football.
Yeah.
Now you're going to tell him to forget all that and do something else. And then by the time he gets to another age, he's going to go through the same thing of being scared of doing that. And I said, it's like, I understand the protection of like certain things, but like kids this age, they're not really going that hard out on each other, tackling each other either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that. But it's, I mean, when you still have them doing offensive line stuff, when it's an entire game, you're still bonking heads no matter what, and that's what it comes down to, especially, getting hit in general in the head still moves the brain no matter what. So that's, again, not a scientist, don't know, but from the things that I've heard, I think that's an issue that if we're going to keep going that far, I think it comes down to people want something to be mad about. Yeah. Dana White's involved with it. So of course they're just looking, media wise and everybody else to jump on him about it and give him crap for it. But, and I completely agree with you though. There's plenty of concerns for it. I mean, is there a chance to get hurt? Absolutely. I'm not going to deny that. I'm the kind of person, ask me in 20 years. Let's have a conversation in 20 years and then we can talk about it then, but again, I can't speak for other people on other stuff. Cause like I said, everybody's built different and, in life been through different stuff. So.
Yeah. I think for a fan's perspective, it depends on what your level of viewing tolerance can be. Right.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that like, I can remember like seeing them going to like saying to my dad, "Hey, 10 years ago, hey, come and watch this MMA fight. Let's watch BJ Penn versus Frankie Edgar." And he's like, "I don't want to watch that. That's barbaric." He was like, that's not even boxing. That's just fucking like human cockfighting. I'm like, no, it's the most purest form. It's like, all these different skills of like combat sport just meshed into one. And he was just like, no, I think he sat down and watched one fight on that card, and it was like one guy just got knocked clean out, like stiffed, bang, out. And like he was just like, that was it. He was like, no, I can't watch that. But he could sit and watch boxing all day long.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the same sort of thing where people are going to be like, can they sit there and be like, I can enjoy this and get entertainment from it, or is this too much of a sensory overload for them?
Yeah, I think what they did, like, it fits today's day and age because of the short amount of clips for the actual competition itself. I think the TV show aspect was more so, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think it was just another thing that they wanted to try to help promote it wise. And it just so happened to work out in a lot of people's favor because obviously it's worked well. I mean, the viewing numbers on TV, I don't know about because, like, that's one thing a lot of the media's been talking about, them going up and down and stuff. But again, I think it's more so this is set up for people to enjoy the fast clips. Yeah. And like you said, you saw me, kind of discovered me, looked into my story a little bit. We're more about a story. A lot of us we all have a certain story. Whether you like it or you don't, that's just how it's going to be. But, we're out here again. There's more to us and more to this than just the thing itself. We're all just wild enough to be willing to go up there and, wild and confident enough to go up there and do this and think that you're not going to get dropped and that you're going to be able to drop somebody, because not everybody has power to knock somebody out and not everybody has a chin. And, some people kind of like myself, like I hadn't competed since high school in anything. I had just recently started doing jujitsu and, moderately training a little bit of Muay Thai before I even found this. So, I kind of stumbled upon it and then, internet deep search rabbit hole. I'm figuring out, trying to do techniques in here in my garage, sending videos, trying, like I thought the whole thing was crazy. I still don't believe what's going on at the moment, but it's definitely a wild situation. And, like I said, the clippage fits today's social media. And the stories of us ourselves, I think, are what people are going to end up enjoying in the long run, especially when we get to do, like a media day type thing that's live or something, when you actually get to hear us, the banter with one another.
I think as well, like the fact about the product is, like, you see like an MMA fight, which is, if it goes the distance, 15 minutes long. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like this is a much quicker of a turnaround to get a result. As you said, more digestible content as far as like social media as well, to actually promote, and see this grow. And I think that like this thing is like so highly sought after and so highly viewed that there's people around the world that are enjoying this content. There's people in the world that are enjoying this new form of combat, right?
Absolutely. Like I was mentioning to you before, I've had people from Russia message me, with good stuff, not just bad stuff. Like I know everyone's thinking, but I've had positive messages. You yourself reaching out from, from where you're at was, a shock to me. I got to think here. I can't even remember the other places, but like you said, all over the world right now, because that's where social media is at anyhow. It's coming up, and people are really they're going to be watching it. Whether you view it once and you don't want to watch it ever again, that's fine. But at the same time, people are enjoying it. The numbers I said on social media aren't lying. Like you can't deny that. That's one of those things that you can physically see. And I mean, unless somehow, some way, conspiracy theory, they're just our numbers are getting boosted because someone's paying someone, but I highly doubt that, because it's over a lot of platforms that it's super high on. I know there's way ton of views on TikTok, but I'm not on there, so I just know more so Instagram is what I kind of keep an eye on, and a little bit of Twitter. So like I know a lot of our videos on Instagram, I know one I have is like, last time I looked was like 8.8 million. And that was sitting in between Volkanovski and Makhachev, and they both were under 2 million or on, what I'm saying? Like, and that's not, and I feel bad because I know that's a controversy people have right now. They're like, oh, these fights aren't being promoted properly because of this other entity that's happening. And it's like, they even came out and said after, Makhachev had brought it up, like Dana was like, this is being promoted. It's on its way to be top tier pay-per-view material. And like, why would it not be? It doesn't, at this point, who needed to sell it, because it had sold itself. It's the first time the number 1 and number 2 pound for pound belt holding 2 different weight class champs are going to fight. Like, what more promotion does anybody need? Like, come on.
I think it's just, at that level as well, gets to a certain point that maybe they think they're not getting as much love as what they used to get, or what, fighters in that situation should be getting.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that. I'm always going to feel like low man on the totem pole no matter what. So I guess that's just, again, a personality thing for people. So
yeah, I mean, look, like, I think it depends on the people and the mindset. Like, they could have hey, I'm a big timer, like, why am I not getting the love, or for whatever reason. But man, like, getting back onto your career, what is it like that drew you into like the whole power slap thing to begin with? Like, what was your background like? I know you trained a bit of MMA, but was combat sport always something that you were sort of, training with throughout the time growing up, or was it something you just sort of fell into as you got older?
Throughout school, I always did sports. I always played football, but I wrestled from junior high through high school, ran track for a year, and then I joined the military right after school, and unfortunately got hurt and out real quick. So, I mean, that was years of wrestling, and my school was a very, well-known in the area kind of ordeal. I was not good by any means at any of the sports I did, so I won't take that away. I'll tell everybody that right now. I was not the best. I will never say I was, and I was not probably even close to being good, but I was there training with a lot of guys that were, high tier elite for high school sports. There was a lot of really great, state runner-ups or qualifiers that I got to grapple with. And then in the past couple of years, Next Level Alliance martial arts, I learned a little bit of BJJ there the past couple of years. Now I've been training. I get to go work out there every morning before I go to work. And then, Muay Thai, I was at sparring last night with a couple of guys. I get to train with Rel Hodge, who's a fighter in the area. He's a pro. My buddy Austin, I got a fight coming up soon. I think that's his first one, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's a few fighters that are in there. That's also a real nice, smaller place that, the kids are getting a good lesson. It's a family-owned place. Shout out to the Bean family. They are some of the greatest people I've ever met. And if it wasn't for me even, stumbling upon this place to kind of reinvent myself other than just being at home, not doing anything anymore, I would have never even looked into an MMA page where I stumbled across this slap fight league, and that's where I'm at now. So
yeah, I mean, like, what was like, the whole reaction from like family and friends, like when you went in and said, hey, I'm going to be going and doing this, like what was their initial reaction? Because like you mentioned, you got a wife, you got kids, what was their reaction, and what were like your other family and friends reaction to it?
I'll start with friends who knew me from high school and childhood friends and stuff. They automatically were like, "Oh yeah, they get it." I was very, very wild when I was young. I could go on and on about that for days, but I would just say it was pretty self-explanatory for most people who knew me that that's what I was willing to go up there and do, and they just had no guesses. A few family members might have been like, "Well, you can't do that," but then 5 minutes later, they already know that that's not going to change my mind. So, I have a conversation with them to try and reassure them that I'm going to be okay to the best of my ability, and then go on about it. But as for the wife and kids, sat down in the living room, had a serious conversation about it. Their kids are a little bit younger, so they can only understand so much. But I asked them if they were okay with it. I said, "You understand, Daddy could get hurt," and they all okay. Well, if that's what you want to do. They supported me, and my wife also. We had just kind of recently. I had a lot of losses in the family right before that too, honestly. And I was at a point in life where we had just recently bought a home and moved in and were settled down, and I just had a weight on me of, well, now what? I've accomplished these things and I don't know what to do now. Anxiety just hit me literally like an anvil cartoon style out of the sky, standing in my yard one day. I'm going, now what? I have no sense of direction. And jiu-jitsu and the Muay Thai and the learning in the class gave me a long-term goal. I'm very a goal-orientated person. So,
sure,
I was able to kind of transfer all of that. And then, like I said, after having the reassuring conversations with my family and, just like, yeah, I'm just full on dove into it and started researching it and, trying to figure out ways to train and what's the best way to get stronger. And, like I said, the best of my ability to go out with as little damage as possible. And what could be, it's a modern day shootout is what I like to call it, You pretty much, it's like the Wild West. You walk her out, draw on 3. Well, we're drawing one hand at a time. Unfortunately, we get a coin toss instead of who can draw your gun faster.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, as far as like the safety precautions and health precautions for power slap, like that was one thing that you said earlier, is like many people don't know the precautions before you even get on a plane. And this is kind of like an opportunity for like you to kind of like maybe tell the world really like what is actually in place safety wise for the competitors, for the strikers, to ensure their safety.
Absolutely. Before then, I appreciate you bringing that up again, because this is a very big thing in this. Before, like I said, before I could even get my plane ticket sent for the show for Vegas, when we were shooting the show down in Vegas, you had to have, scans from head to toe, chest x-rays, EKGs, blood work, they're checking your brain, and you have medical attention 24/7 while you're down there, because they're making sure, before we even leave, we don't have any pre-existing conditions. Like if I would have something wrong inside my chest and not feel it, I would never know had they not, paid for me to get these tests done. So not only are they testing us before we're going down to make sure we're all right, for our competition. But there's a chance that, like many other fighters that they have before, they could find something that we never would have known about. A lot of people, at least, from where I'm from, it's hard to get us to go to the hospital because you get raked over the coals. To have an opportunity like that, where for no other reason, like I'm not getting hit in the chest. Then I don't think they necessarily needed to x-ray my chest. I don't know, EKGs, I kind of understand, but at the same time, like, what does all that have to do with just getting a smack right here? I feel like some of that was a little bit, like I get more so the chest x-ray, but like I said, it's necessary.
I mean, I would say that's probably more for insurance purposes that they would do the chest x-ray and stuff like that, right? Like, it would have to be. It's like, if you're an athlete and you're going to be like a competitor in this, like, I think that they would, did they either go full body, like chest, lung capacity, like everything full scan, or was it just like chest that was randomly thrown in there?
See, honestly, I can't give you detail on that specific part, but let me ask you this then. What other leagues are doing any precautions like this that you know of? Because you're seeing them crop up left and right, in the middle of nowhere, where these people are, they're going to be doing it at bars. They're going to be doing it out in the field. They're going to be doing it over in Russia, where, I mean, that dude gets knocked out and carried off. Are you hearing from them what they're getting, and again, afterwards, the doctors, if they have to walk you down the steps, if you do get knocked, they help you down the stairs. There's a doctor waiting by you that's the same as the UFC doctors, and they monitor you. And, if you do have an issue, they take you directly to the hospital. And then, the entire time you're down there, obviously, if you have an issue, you can simply ask and you'll get taken to an appointment. So, like, if someone was hurt, even if it was like, your hand, your back's tweaked, you have a muscle thing going on, you weren't sure what was going on in the house, they got you an appointment right away. And, if you had to skip filming, they didn't care. They took you to get it checked out. And then after you leave, obviously after competition, there's checks before you leave and everything. But once you get home and you land, you receive a text message, an email, a phone call, whatever, from multiple people asking, are you okay? Is there anything that going on pre-existing that we need to get lined up in your area for you to get looked at and checked up on?
Yeah. Well, I think I think the UFC being involved in it as well, which is probably like, the UFC has definitely evolved over the years, and as far as like the health precautions and stuff that they've taken, they always put the health and safety of their athletes first.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the old, Wild West of like Vegas boxing of days of old, where it's like, oh no, we'll just still get that fighter out there. It's like, well, no, your health is more important. Dana's made fighters, retire over the years and just gone, no, that's it. I'm not getting you fighting anymore. So I think, by putting these precautions in place, it's at least putting everyone at ease who does criticize this, right? Like, it would have to be.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like people should, again, any combat sport, even if it's not striking, like, you can get hurt in jiu-jitsu, wrestling, stuff that there's no striking involved in general, because freak accidents happen in any sort of competition. I mean, you can blow your knee out running track, for Pete's sake, But again, I understand everybody's concern. Absolutely. You're taking strikes to the head. But at the same time, we all know what we're going in there for, where no one's being forced or held at gunpoint to go in here and do anything. This is like I said before, it's as wild and crazy as we all are. It's fun for us.
Yeah, man. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, if it's fun for you guys are willing to go in there and do it. And like I said, as I said earlier, I think it's going to come down to the people who watch it are going to be the people who have a high tolerance to be able to, like, I mean? Like, it's not going to be for everybody. Like, there's not one thing in this universe that every single person in this world absolutely loves, besides coffee.
Absolutely. Amen.
Like, it's, I mean, there's nothing that you can do, even if it was something completely different and it wasn't something that was a contact. It was just something like a chess tournament, for example. There's going to be people that like it and there's going to be people that shit on it. It's a way of life.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there's someone who wants to play a regular game of chess who thinks 3D chess is pointless. You know what I'm saying? You're going to it's a nitpick thing. It's, I don't know if you're a gamer or not, but every console that comes out, more people don't go buy it because they just keep an old console and then play that same game over and over again. They don't move on. They don't buy another one. I know that's not always, but it's happened. I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm not getting anymore." They stick with one thing forever and a day,
Yeah, exactly, man. But how did you find like living in the house and going through that whole process of being on, like reality TV is like, I mean, I always find like reality TV is like, I always wonder how much of it is actually reality and how much they really niggle certain things in. How did you find the whole experience?
I'm gonna say it was a very, very individual experience compared to other reality TV shows, because like the characters in that house were some wild, wild dudes, and as much as we all fight and get into it in that house, if we were walking down the street together and someone who didn't know us was like, "You guys," you're going to end up fighting all of us. That's the kind of scenario it is. There's a brotherhood between us, no matter if we have beef or not. It's one of those kind of scenarios. But, the personalities clash, obviously, people's habits that other people can't stand. It was definitely some things you had to deal with. But it reminded me a lot of like a boot camp style thing where you had to be on watch all the time, dude. You never knew. Like I could be walking from the shower to my room to go get dressed, and like two people were fighting over here, and then I go to brush my teeth before we leave for the gym, and then someone's getting in a fight over here. It was just always mayhem. And then like if there was a quiet time, which obviously there was, but it's just, so much of it was just erupting randomly that you're just like, what the fuck is going on in here, dude?
Yeah,
It was definitely crazy. But for the reality TV part of it, there's not much that they've shown so far. I'm sure they have narratives that they're painting, obviously, but everything that they've shown, I mean, that shit was pretty damn real when I was there.
Yeah, right. And it's like, training for this and like the training, what would the training that they provide consist of? Like, you go to the gym, like, how many hours a day are you putting in? Like, and what type of training are you doing?
What they at least had us down there doing was you would, Ultimate Fighter style, one team would go for hour and a half to 2 hours, I think, in the actual gym.
Yeah.
While the other team stayed home, and then you guys would switch out. But your coaches would pretty much make up your workout plan. And at least us on Team Wolverine, he would go over like some band work, practicing the strikes, so that way you're coming from down below and all the tension is on the way up. Throwing the big heavy like medicine type balls up against the wall in that type motion to keep everything strong up top. Core workouts to help, because you're spinning with your core. Training, planting our feet, honestly, because it's not like this isn't a sparring thing, like Muay Thai, boxing. You can spar, you can do that stuff, like you said. Obviously, you're moving, you're bobbing, you're weaving, you can roll with a punch a little bit better. They take like a pool noodle about 2 foot long, mark the center of it, and this helps you get used to not flinching since you get penalized for it. So you line up, probably like a step further back than you normally would, and then you just kind of hit them with the pool noodle to help people not flinch. You're taking, I mean, it's literally just a whap with a pool noodle, for Pete's sake. You watch your kids do it at the pool every time people go. Yeah. So, it was definitely a good way to help people not to learn to flinch. And also it helps us keep our feet down, since that's the big penalty thing, your heels coming up or your feet pivoting or anything. So it helps us train to stay planted and get used to that upper body movement that you really need to keep in focus. Because if not, like losing a point in these rounds is very different than losing a point in boxing or like MMA, because you've lost that point. Like you can't even make it an even round at the end now if you were to like lose a point at the beginning and then muff the dude up for 2 more minutes. Like that point's gone. I guarantee that dude knows now he just has to land a clean slap. He wins that round. You've automatically lost that round. You are down.
But as far as like the rules go, like no flinching though. So like, what would they consider like any flinching? Like even something like a head jerk, that would be considered a flinch.
Yes, I would say so. Yes, I know. Me personally, again, because I can't speak for everybody else. Everyone kind of has their own tactics. You kind of see people brace for it, and that's one thing that they have to watch. Because if you're thinking about bracing for it too hard, and like you said, you almost jerk yourself forward, that can be called a penalty. Which I don't know if anyone watched the episode the other day that a dude got hit in the top of the head then because of that. So then the striker's hand kind of had an issue. But it's and you also don't want to duck down into it because then you're going to get slapped right in the temple. Like which would you rather do? And as for like I was saying before, if you can, to the best of your ability, try and time it and roll your head with it to make it as little as possible that you're absorbing, I think that's helpful. But I've also heard different things from everybody else. I definitely feel like you shouldn't go in there super loosey goosey because you're going to get your head spun. And for some people, tensing up extremely hard is not a good idea either.
Yeah, because you get whiplash from it, right? Like it would really fuck you up. So it's like, does anything sort of like help with the recovery? Like as far as like the striking stuff, like a bare hand like striking there after like you had done this a couple of times, like how was your hand feeling afterwards? Was there like much of an impact? Like did you notice a change in it? Like how did it actually feel after your first competition?
Me personally, I didn't really have any issues. Like my hands were already pretty much beat up and tough from time anyhow. I'm a welder, so I'm just grabbing a whip all day long and heat treating my mitts, if you'll say. So I never really had too much of an issue. I have heard a lot of guys their wrists hurt, or I definitely had to watch the elbow. My hand itself I've had no problems with, surprisingly, but it was more so like watching my elbow and protecting your shoulders, because you're putting yourself in an exposed area when you're throwing that making sure it's strong, and if you do hurt it, being able to help recover it so that way you can move on in the future, I think is definitely a big deal.
And like as far as Sean O'Malley, a UFC fighter, had basically stated that he would there's no way he would watch Power Slap. How do you feel about that, considering like that he works for like the parent company of Power Slap? I mean, like, do you feel like he should be like supporting this to a certain degree, or can you see like, okay, this just isn't for him?
No, like you just said at the end right there, it's just not for him. If he doesn't want to watch it, that's fine. He was not out there being super critical like some other people have been. So again, and that's their opinion, and they have every right to that. It's not like Sean O'Malley just sent me a message and was like, bro, fuck you and the horse you rode in on for your Power Slap league. Then I might have a little bit of an issue with him in particular, but no, I don't blame him at all. I can see, like you said, the purists in mixed martial arts could definitely have an issue with this, and I see why. It's not a technique that any of us are using that's really applicable, I would say, to anything. Like maybe just used to swinging an open hand for like combat jujitsu, which is even a newer thing to the world. So again, it's just its own niche. But at the same time, I'm going to compare that to everybody's watching darts, cornhole, beer pong. Like it's on ESPN, dude. So like, why are we all complaining about this stuff? Everyone's got their own thing. If you don't like it, so be it.
But it's also like, have you ever watched Pancration?
Oh yeah.
Like Pancration, like back in the day, it was like open hand strikes. It's
Boom.
like
Like, Boss Rutan.
Bas Rutten versus like Frank Shamrock, like just beating the shit out of each other. In reality, it's just kind of like a very not similar, but in a lot of ways, the striking style. You can see the incorporation, because that's kind of what like Pancration really was.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just more so it's our rule set, instead of being open palm strikes for just, in general, is another, that's the other technicality I guess I forgot to say, is they're watching the chalk things not just for cool effect. They're watching to see where your hand lands to make sure it was a clean hit, because the bottom of your palm right here is supposed to be in line or below the chin of your opponent. So once they see your palm going up, so like I know a lot of people are trying to call palm strikes on some folks, which I get. It's a controversial thing. We're all learning too, like the refs are learning. Dana and Frank are learning, and everybody, Hunter, everybody else that's there watching is learning and trying to figure this stuff out. So we know we're make sure what calls are getting made. Like we've gone over meetings with the refs as rules changed, because like with time stuff or whatever else they decided to try and incorporate. But yeah, it's the bottom of the palm, it needs to be in line with the chin, no higher, because then you're slapping, your palm's hitting their ear. You don't want to go up above in the temple, obviously the eye, or you hit them in the nose or anything. And then, which you can see in my match versus John Kennedy, my first one, I was too low. So I hit him probably like from here up. And that's why he didn't move, because I couldn't get the lower part of my hand to his chin to make it, that much more powerful. So it's definitely a precision and accuracy thing that's going to play into that. Cause like that slap that I hit him with, he didn't move. Like I might as well have bonked him in the head with one of those pool noodles that we had back in the gym, because he just sat there and stared at me, and that's one of those moments where, as the guy on the other side of the table, you just kind of go, fuck, now it's my turn.
But that would be an intimidating thing, right? Like just to sit there and take it, like to give a shot to someone and then to just go, have you done? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like if you could have that mental like toughness to stand there and just eat a shot and just look at them and just smile afterwards, I feel like that would just like mentally fuck someone up like completely.
Oh yeah, I definitely know watching it, that's going to be like, oh my God, that's got to be such a mind psych. Like I knew as soon as after I hit him that I had whiffed, but obviously I'm not going to like run up to the camera and be like, I fucking missed, bull, So yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, damn, like I knew in my head I needed to make a correction, but also at that point in time, it's like, oh, again, it's my turn. I've got to make sure I've got my time limit to get set. I got to get my little noodle thing to hold on behind myself, so that way I'm set up and ready to go and in my square, because you have to make sure you tell the ref that you're set before he can tell the striker to even get what hand and what count he's going on.
So like the striker can choose the count, right? So if I go, all right, John, I'm going on 2, so I go 1, 2. So I could go like, is there a certain number that a striker can choose or use, or like can go up to?
Us, we go 1 through 3. So you're allowed a measure, but what'll happen is you have to come directly straight out with it. If you happen to curve your arm like this to come out for it, that's technically a windup. Because you could accidentally, like if you're coming just straight out to start to measure with your hand, you're not chancing accidentally striking them and having to get some sort of ruling called because you've made a mistake at that point. But yeah, you can go on 1, which a lot of people, old slap Jesus likes to just kind of stare off into the ceiling beams and call his 1, and then it's definitely a shock factor, and that one's a wild thing in itself. But I feel like it's too opportune to miss. I feel like lining up and at least going on 2 makes it to where you can land your hand hopefully where it needs to be, so that way A, it's a clean hit for you to not get a penalty, and B, your opponent, you're not fucking them up, because that's not what you want to do outside of the rule set. Because that's the other thing, we as the competitors are like, yeah, like if you notice when I did get a clubbing violation, I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, like we all know that's not what we're trying to do. And if you are, that's how you're going to get your ass beat up there in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like if you throw some sort of cheap shot shit that's not a legit call, like you're going to get fucked up.
Yeah, 100%. And like that's the fucking crazy thing. Like with these rules, it's like, because this is so new and still just starting to be regulated, like you said, like the judges are learning, the refs are learning, as well as the athletes. And it's like you look at, you know, I was looking at how the judging and the scoring goes. Like, how can you, like, how is it actually judged? Because I know it's on a 10-point system, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same system that they're using based off the MMA and boxing, pretty much. That's also like with the count. You know, they have an 8 and a 10 count. I think you can't hold me to that exactly, but I know for a fact they have an 8 count because that's how I ended up winning my match with John Kennedy. He had got to the 8 count, and then I got asked to walk forward, and the ref had called it at that point. But as for the point system, you know, like, say, you know, you and I are going, you hit me, I don't move like we were just talking about, and you're like, fuck, now it's my turn. So you line up, I crack you, and I drop you on your ass.
Yeah.
I win that round. I know I crack you, I don't drop you, but you wobble a little bit, or you stutter step. Then, you know, more than likely, I'm going to say that's a closer round for myself. I crack you and you don't move either. I mean, that's a pick 'em for the judges at that point. You know, they could go down to facial expressions. You know, if, you know, I mean, who knows at that point on what they're judging on? Because, you know, like if you hit me and you muff me up and I get up, you know, you win that round. I hit you, you laugh in my face, you're getting even more of, you know, of points for yourself for that round, because you're showing that what I'm doing is not affecting you at all. You know, it's definitely like, I've heard a lot of people, like, if WWE and UFC had a baby, you know, there's some entertainment in this for us that a lot of us are really trying to go for, you know, and it's an entertainment, like me, it's comical in some ways, you know, like, because we're, you know, for the us having fun aspect of it, you know, we're up there talking smack to each other, some of it not serious, some people obviously serious. But, you know, like when John yells, he wasn't ready, like that's some inside joke stuff from the house. And it was so hard for me not to bust out laughing when he did that and focus in, you know, honestly. But luckily I was able to keep my shit together at the time and do what I needed to do. But it's stuff like that that's like, people I'm sure are watching are like, oh my God, this dude just yelled, you know, whatever at this other dude's face, or, you know, this girl dropped this girl, or whatever the scenario is that's getting people riled up to want to watch it, you know?
Oh, 100%. And like, how does the weight classes work? Like, is it the same as MMA, the weight divisions? Because like you compete at middleweight, right? So that's 185.
Yes. So far, I don't know if we've had anybody under lightweight, but we've had people at 55, 170, 185, 205, and heavyweight. Actually, when we did the qualifier in March, I competed at heavyweight in 2 different matches. They only showed the one that was against, I won by unanimous decision. That was my entrance into the house that they gave me automatically. So that was, you know, a bit of a controversial match, unfortunately, because I didn't really take the hits like people had thought. But, you know, I think a lot of that was, I don't know. It was new for everybody. The spotlight was on, you know, I can't speak for other people, but it was just a scenario that was like, you know, it is what it is. We were able to get through it at least. And, you know, we're both okay. It was a clean match, I thought. And, you know, I came out with the W. So, but yeah, you know, I was at heavyweight and then moved my way down to middleweight by the time this up and coming TV show opportunity popped up.
How does the weight divisions, like how the weigh-ins actually happen? Like, is it like MMA weight? You have to weigh in a day beforehand. Are you having to cut weight, or are you walking around at 185?
Some people are cutting weight. You know, again, I'm going to speak more for myself on that. I try to walk around right now at 195 if I know I'm not getting ready for anything, just to be within the 10 pounds. Because, like, if I eat what I want, I mean, I'll shoot up to 210 in a week. Like, it's not that hard for me to do. But, you know, I'd rather walk around. Before I even got on the plane to go to Vegas for the show, I made sure I weighed 183 that morning. I ran 4 miles on the treadmill that day to make sure that I was good to go, you know, and that was part of what helped me lose weight anyhow. I got back into a lot of cardio and just wanting to be in better health shape for myself. You know, it was a motivational thing that I got from this. It wasn't because I couldn't take the hits at heavyweight, because nobody dropped me up there either. But it was more so like I just feel better moving around now, you know, like I'm way more I can breathe easier, you know. It's just a whole lot of health things that definitely played a part in that. And obviously coming down from heavyweight to middleweight, you know, that's some Jared Cannonier type stuff for the MMA fans out there. Like why would I not want to carry any power I can transfer down to that weight and, you know, still be able to compete and not have any issues to cut weight at all. So like I, you know, just maintaining and making sure I'm, you know, as hydrated as possible and some clean eating for a while, and I'm good to go.
Well, I think as well, like with heavyweights as well, like there's certain people like in combat sports that are natural heavyweights that are like 6 foot plus, but have the body structure is like there's no way that they could get under 230 pounds at all. You know what I mean? Like it's just how they naturally are. And it's like, do you feel yourself like you are more natural at around the 185 pound mark, 195 pound mark than you were around at the heavyweight mark?
I'm gonna say yeah. I also feel like because like I've weighed over 270 before, man. In all reality, like I stopped weighing myself at that point because it was just depressing, you know. It was definitely not a proud moment in time for me to be, you know, because I was unhealthy for sure. But I was, you know, I've also been 215 and a lot more muscular. So like, you know, I have the ability to be that big and strong and, you know, be a legit heavyweight. I could, but I would have to, you know, really like work on it for a long time to be able to make it a reality. So I knew, you know, it would be easier because I honestly didn't think I was going to get under 205. You know, I, like you were saying, I thought I was going to be stuck over 200 for the rest of my life. And the next thing you know, I just one day looked at my wife. I was like, I'm going on a run. I ran to Home Depot and back. She goes, how long is that? I said, I don't know. It was like 4.5 miles. And then I just kept doing it.
Wow.
And slowly, you know, getting faster at it, getting, you know, my knees quit hurting. My back didn't hurt as much. I can breathe better. My neck's not, you know, it's just, again, a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, definitely feel better and more confident at 185 competing, you know, because actually I had done 2 jiu-jitsu matches or tournaments after I got back from competing at heavyweight, and I had got down to 185 for the jiu-jitsu stuff. So I had already been kind of planning on that anyhow, and it worked in my favor in all reality for the TV show.
And like, do you feel like the weight cutting style of cutting weight, dehydrating, you know, do you see a long-term solution for weight cutting which would eliminate that?
I would love to say it's possible, but coming from a wrestling background and knowing how people are, that no matter what, like it's going to happen one way or another because people are going to find a way to do it. You know, I personally, especially for this, like I said, I'm trying to be on weight before I get down there because I'm trying to be super hydrated and keep as much water in me as possible, you know. You know, some guys are sweating it out and stuff. And, you know, if that plays a factor in them winning or losing, I guess it kind of, you know, depends on them and how they feel afterwards. You know, I don't necessarily think it's the best tactic for what we're doing. But again, it's such a widespread thing, especially with the guys that are coming over from MMA and boxing, where it's, you know, a normalized thing that it's like, oh, you walk around at 200, you can hit 185, or you walk around at 170, you can be a 55er easy, no big deal. You know, it's stuff like that people are never gonna, you know, really be able to get away from unless, you know, I mean, unless you solder or they have someone living in your house watching you 24/7. At that point,
Exactly.
you know, that's why we don't have a communism over here. So,
or here, bro. But it's interesting though, because like if we look at like some of the craziness in combat sport, like not too long ago we had Bare Knuckle FC start, right? So Bare Knuckle FC, same sort of thing. You know, it was started by David Feldman.
Yep.
And like that was also looked at, you know, how can you have a bare knuckle fight? Like this is so barbaric. This is so, you know, going back to 18th century, right? The bare knuckle boxing and stuff like that. Then they're going on and they put a female fight on the card, and then people started going, oh, this is an outrage having female fighters compete, which is all right, bro, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like how is this worse, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, what I mean, they've been criticized. They've had like death threats to try and shut their shows down because of like the underground fight scene of doing that. And I kind of feel like Power Slap is in that same boat as Bare Knuckle FC, whereas like and you mentioned this earlier, right? There's so many underground things that people are doing in bars and stuff like that, where there's no regulations, there's no safety precautions, there's no real policing of it. Where I feel like in this sort of thing, in any combat sport, it needs to have policing to a certain degree just to keep the people involved honest, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that last statement right there. You know, to make sure that everything's going in a way that it should be, so that way people aren't getting, like you said, 1700 style stacked up outside of an old barn where, like you said, and by the way, I love the bare knuckle boxing. When that came out, dude, I was so excited. Like I would love to compete in any sort of combat sport. You know, that's what my hopes are. So that way people are really going to be mad about me starting off with this one and then trying to work my way into other ones. But you know,
But you know what,
definitely.
like, the bare knuckle FC thing has rejuvenated careers, really. And I think if Power Slap could get like, you know, a boxer to cross over, or you know, I think an MMA fighter to cross over, and that's where I think long-term longevity with it. I think we will see that. And I think if you get like a big named MMA fighter or a big name boxer that comes in and goes, you know what, I've talked shit about this, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and compete in this, I think that would only bring more eyes to it and probably legitimize it a lot more too.
Absolutely. And what a lot of people haven't seen yet either, because they haven't got to show it, is the qualifiers that we did do in March. There's a lot of other people that were on those cards. You know, there's some fighters from the UK. Tony Lopez was down there from bare knuckle. BYB champ Josette Cotton was down there. I don't remember if she got to compete or not, but she was at least there, and I got to meet her. You know, there's just a whole variety of people that, you know, you kind of had to do a double take, because it's like, I'm pretty sure I was just watching you on my phone 3 days ago. You know what I'm saying? One of those type deals. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Someone, you know, big name that would want to come over and, you know, like you said, if whether they were talking shit or like Conor McGregor himself, you know, I don't know, I'm sure he's jokingly, or, you know, whatever the scenario is, if someone threw him $20 to make a post about it or something. But just the fun that someone would even put that out there for the world to, you know, have controversial conversations about is exciting for me, especially since he looks about $185. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, 100%. Like he's like, Connor looks massive, bro. Like, you know, and he'd put on so much size like that. But I feel like Conor McGregor is kind of an enigma in like combat sports, because it's like, yeah, he's done some pretty big accomplishments. Like he's won UFC titles, but like he's won combat sports titles. But I kind of feel like he won them, but then, you know, I mean, how can you really call him a true champion, because he never really went on to defend those titles? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. The legacy of him, I think, is what's just so grand, because he is such a, you know, his character. You know, there's the moments where he's a docile, you know, normal seeming kind of person, and then there's Connor showing up 20 minutes late, stealing belts, and telling everybody to fuck off. You know, so yeah. I think that's, again, he's pretty much in his own space and bubble from everybody else, just because he was such a superstar power. You know. And I think that's the entertainment factor that, you know, like the WWE style AEW that we're looking to kind of transfer over. You know, that's what people want, and that's, you know, obviously what he offered for so long, and is still trying to offer to this day. You know.
Well, bro, like, prime example, Chael Sonnen, right? So Chael Sonnen, like, if you look at, and I love Chael, I love Conor McGregor, but like, if you look at Chael Sonnen's career, like, he lost a lot of like big matchups that he was put in, but in reality, he was put in a lot of big matchups that he probably, most people wouldn't be in, because he talked a lot of shit. He knew how to promote fights. It's like, if you've got two people who are going in a combat sport field and they're going like, okay, yeah, well, I'm going to go like fight this guy. There's a good chance he's going to kick my ass. I might kick his ass. I don't know. Well, it might be 50-50. You're going to go, that's going to be fucking boring as fuck. But you guy coming in going, mate, when this motherfucker signed to fight me, he called his wife and said, break out your red underwear. And it's red. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like Nate Diaz and fucking Conor McGregor, that build up and stuff like that. That's the sort of shit that people get excited. People love the drama. People love controversy. And, you know, that's what draws people in.
Yeah, the name, I just said this to someone in a message the other day. The name of this game is controversy. We're controversial for what we're doing. There's controversy, in the house 24/7, and then, the world itself is controversial 24/7 on top of, the space that we're in that is now, the internet and social media. You want to talk about controversy? Everyone's freaking out, about this, that, or the other on here all the time. Why? Because it's a space that you can go to. You're not out in your yard yelling at your neighbors about, oh, the shit's going on over here. Someone did this, something, because you know why? No one's going to listen. No one's going to listen. Like if it wasn't for this stuff, some people wouldn't be able to get out there and say those things. But obviously, we wouldn't have the same space for you and I to come here, together and have, great conversation about stuff and try and learn from one another.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I really feel like this conversation, like for me, like I said, I wasn't against anything that Power Slap was doing. I just didn't understand it. I wasn't knowledgeable of it. And that's why I was like, you know what, this looks kind of cool. I want to know more about it. Saw you, and I was like, damn, man, this guy's, one of the fucking OGs of this shit. Let's check him out. Let's have a conversation and see where, what we can learn from this and what we can put out to the people about it, and maybe educate other people about this sport.
Absolutely. And that's all I can ask of people, for anyone, sending messages, comments, whatever. Like if I can answer someone's questions about, how to watch it or rule set or what's going on, I'm going to hop on there and try my best. Unfortunately, I still, work a normal job and have a life and a whole bunch of other shit to do. So I'm trying to squeeze it in there when I can. But, just being able to communicate with people, and the ones that don't have nice things or good things to say, I'm going to try and communicate to you too. For all I know, you're just having a bad day and you wanted to tell me to fuck off. Like, I'm sorry. I hope you have a better day. That's all I can really tell you. I've dealt with so much shit in life and am such a self-critic that anything anyone has to say, I guarantee you I can beat you in a matter of seconds to destroy myself and make you think that that's disturbing what I just said about myself. I'm getting people just left and right saying random stuff, and all I'm telling them, I hope you have a wonderful day, like in all reality, because obviously if you're that upset to go out of your way to say stuff to people you don't know about something you don't really care for, like there's some underlying problems, I would say.
But that's the thing. These people want a reaction. They want you to say, motherfuck you, fuck. You know what I mean? They want that reaction from you, because like it could be that they're clout chasing and they're going to be like, oh yeah, look, this guy from Power Slap, he's a fucking scumbag. He told me to go fuck myself, right? Because then they can change and edit those screenshots to, control their own narrative in a lot of ways. But that's the thing, they want a reaction from that. And when you give them that just burns them even more, because in reality, these guys and these people doing that, how angry and fucked up has your life got to be if you've got to message someone you don't know and just go, hey, you're a fucking scumbag. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mental health is a big issue in the world today that obviously just about everybody's dealing with. And if you don't, you're very, very lucky. So, that's one of those things for me that I'm an advocate of. It's affected me personally. I've lost family to it on top of, addiction and all that other kind of stuff that plays into that. So, if I go from someone telling me that I'm stupid or this, that, or the other, because I've had it happen already in the comments where someone's like, oh, my bad, bro, like kill him with kindness, like respect. I get that. And then I have a wonderful conversation with this person. If I can change your mind in that 1 second, great. If I comment back and you just keep telling me to go fuck myself, whoop-de-doo. Do you think you're the first one to do that? Do you think that really affects me? No, I'm going to keep on going about my day. I'm going to have a great time and still tell you to have a wonderful day,
Well, dude, it's interesting. I remember hearing this story years ago, I watched this interview with a guy who was a former Ku Klux Klan member, and he told a story about a day where this small African American preacher destroyed the Ku Klux Klan. And it was basically how he did it was he did it with kindness. Like he started doing stuff like he would do, like they would try and do hateful shit to him. And he's like, I caught the guy even said, he goes, I remember I phoned him up and said, you listen here, boy, we don't like you, can't hear, you got to piss off and blah, blah, get the fuck out, blah, blah. And then he goes, he just went, Jimmy, is that you? Oh, you have how grateful that you called me. Oh, little old me. You decided to take, and he's like, thank you so much. God bless you, son. And then hangs up, and he's like, even one of the situations was they walked into a diner, and he goes, this guy had a roast chicken there sitting there, and they walked in, they go, you know what, boy, what you do there, if whatever you do to that chicken, that's what we're going to do to you. And he looked around, looked at the chicken, picked it up, kissed it, and put it back down. And it's like, and he goes, everyone, the guys in the clan were standing there laughing, going, what the fuck? And he goes, then he stood up and he went, hey, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Put his hand out to shake. And one of the Ku Klux Klan guys are like, they're like, whoa, no, you know what I mean? Like they're because this guy fucked with their head, because that, as hateful as they were, he never let it fucking get to him. Even they started burning crosses on his front lawn. He's like, you want me to bring out marshmallows? And I'm just, bro, this is the best way to attack that, because people want that reaction. They want that fire up. And this person was able to just show the most hateful people in the world, hey, I'm just going to show you love, no matter how racist or, constructive you want to be and yell and be horrible people. I'm just going to be loving and caring. And that was what was able to destroy them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, especially like when I said, when I was wild, when I was young, I was angry a lot about stuff that I didn't understand. And, to this day, some stuff I still don't understand, but it's, people could get to me like that. It was so easy as a teenager for me to just pop off, like getting kicked out of class was the second nature to me. So, it was one of those things that like I had already had that reputation and was carrying that with me. So I just kept that chip on my shoulder, and it took a long time for that chip to be, transformed into a different one. Cause I still carry a chip on my shoulder, but it's just a different one because, like you said, to kill him with kindness and, just to ask someone a simple question that they're not going to expect after they say some weird ass rude shit to you, is, catch them off guard. And really, like I said, it's going to make some people second guess what the fuck they're doing right now. So, and if I can help somebody just, by saying like, if you're having a bad day, like, I hope it gets better, after they told me I'm an asshole. So like, if that helps someone to where they can, they don't have an issue, it keeps them pushed through another day, fine by me. I'm sleeping one way or another. So, again, a positive message out of all this stuff's all I can try and put out there too. Like I said, we're controversial as hell. So it's going to be weird for people to see, 1 second I'm mean mugging across the table trying to knock somebody out, and the next second, I'm telling people to have a wonderful day, and that if they need to ask for help, then do it, like no matter what shape or form, from mental to physical, just to ask for help is hard for a lot of people, especially myself. So, reaching out for it is something that people need to be reminded to do.
100%. And I think especially in males, right? Because it's like as men, it's always instilled in you that you have to be stoic, you have to be the provider for your family, you have to be, you know what I mean, the protector, you know what I mean, like nothing, you know what I mean, you got to be bulletproof almost. And I think like in times, it's like how much we've seen of male suicide from around the world, really, right? It's alarming. In our country here in Australia, it's alarming, right? And
Oh, it's alarming over here.
because men don't want to talk about it. Men don't want to address those issues, or men don't feel comfortable enough to talk about it, which is sad.
Yeah, absolutely. When I said I've had these kind of things affect me in life, people I'll say loved ones close to me have taken their own lives. Loved ones and friends of close to me have been lost to drugs, and scenarios that other people didn't say something to someone else, so you didn't really know. You knew they kind of had a problem, but you didn't know how serious or to what extent it had reached. Like you said, for men to want to talk about it, and for me, it's people in general. I don't give a shit who you are, but we as men talking about it right now, hopefully we can make a difference for someone to want to open up. Listening to people's podcasts, men and women talk about scenarios that I can relate to, and their situations that not necessarily relate to me, but listening to women talk about a scenario that I can relate to my wife, to help me try and understand my wife better. Scenarios people talk about from their childhood to help me try and be a better father to my kids. Any scenario like that, like my wheels are always spinning, thinking about any way that I can be better right now, physical, mental, spiritual, whatever you want it to be. And that's part of why I got in this thing. People are, again, controversy. So if I can be the best at it and it be a controversial thing, and still people can't help but be like, well, as controversial as all this shit is, that dude's a really good fucking dude. I don't care what happens with the rest of it at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel where do you think that you can be with Power Slap in 10 years time? Do you think with everything about concussions, everything that they do health wise at Power Slap League, how long do you think you can do this, and how long do you think the careers of competitors in this could be, realistically?
Again, I'm going to say, that's going to depend on every person and how you really feel about it. I'm not planning on doing it for the next 20 years, because I also don't think at 40 I'm going to be the best physical specimen for any combat sport anymore. So I've got the next 10 years to use this as an opportunity, not only to have success in this, but even if it's 2 more years of competing and then getting into commentating, a year of competing and then podcasting that's related to it. There's a whole bunch of opportunities that have gotten opened up to me in this, that I would have never, this one right here, talking to you would have never reached out to me a year ago, because you would have never known who the fuck I was. I still would have had 10 followers on Instagram and no messages other than my homies that we send goofy stuff to each other all day. I went from 150 followers to, when they posted my video on UFC, to last time I checked 900 something. And just 900 something's a lot to me. Like I said, to also have people, reach out with positive things and just to ask about it from, all over the world is wild to me. I've barely been to a couple of states in the US, let alone talk to people from, where you're from Russia, from, I got a glimpse of, Weili Zhang, or Zhang Wei. Oh, dang it, I'm dyslexic sometimes. However you say her name, so the champion, I saw her in the gym at one point in time. So just being in her general vicinity, and I got to talk to some of her coaches while she was training. So again, opportunities to meet, got to meet Gordon Ryan while we were down there, because they had him at the facility. So I've spent multiple minutes with Michael Bisping up on the actual podium, breaking things down with him, because he's asking questions. I got to talk to Anthony Smith for a while for the first one in March. He was, again, all these people are super nice, and even if they don't totally agree with it, if they don't think it's a sport, if they don't, this, that, or the other, they at least had a conversation with us to see what the hell was going on. And then, I'm sure by most of the time they were done, they're like, we understand why these guys are doing this. They make it pretty obvious that this is what they want to do, or they wouldn't be standing in here right now ready to go fucking bang up on that stand with cameras and lights, smoke rolling and everything in your face, putting on a show.
Yeah, exactly right. And it sounds like the people, certain people around, are trying to educate themselves on it as well. Like Michael Bisping as well, who's a person who's never shied away from controversy. You just look at his career, so he probably sees this as something as hey, this could be money here. You know what I mean? I honestly think the one thing that probably would have negatively affected Power Slap would have been the video that came out of Dana White and his wife having that, that disagreement interaction. And like, in all fairness, like, to be honest, like that sort of like back and forth between him and his wife, which was a private moment which someone captured, is just like, man, that's some creepy shit, bro. Like when you're filming someone in public, like I get he's a public figure, man, and he fucking did some wild out shit, but like that just, I don't know, man, that's some creepy shit. What was your take on it? And did you think, like, when that came out, did you think like, oh, this could be done before it even begins?
I mean, I think everybody had some concern for it, obviously concern for him and his family, because they had automatically or immediately come out and made statements and tried to talk about it, like, again, that's a very unfortunate situation. Again, the statements that they make is the only thing I can really tell you to look at, because it's not like I've sat down with them and got to talk to them or anything like that, so as unfortunate as a situation as it was, and definitely brought more hate and controversy our way, and was very very ironically timed for it to happen that way. But like you said, for people to be constantly under a microscope, even when doing things you shouldn't be, like, that's what we were saying earlier, unless you're having someone watch you 24/7, no one's not guilty of stuff. Granted, that scenario is a very specific one in general, I would say, but there's plenty of stuff that people could be criticized for, and have a lot of issues with if you were under a camera 24/7, especially out on a holiday celebrating with your family, where everyone's trying to have a good time intentionally or originally. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can get that. Like, for me, like, I've been with my wife for a long time. Like, we've been together, like, married for like 8 years. Even if my wife, like, I don't think it's ever okay for like partners to slap each other, regardless of gender, whatever. But I think even like if my wife was to slap me, I don't think she could do anything that major would get me mad enough to want to like hit, you know what I mean? Like hit her. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing that I could think of. But in reality, we don't know what the situation was. We don't know what the fuck was going on. And it was like, at the end of the day, it was a private moment between a husband and wife that was just, when it got out of hand, that unfortunately was captured.
Yeah, again, this day and age for social media, for someone to clip it and put it out there, like you said, I don't, I don't agree with people, especially in a relationship, putting hands on each other, no matter who you are, sex wise or not, because I don't care who you're with either. But it's not good. It's not good, because that's domestic, issues on one hand or the other. But like you said, you don't know what's going on, any other time. Like they said, their statements, obviously, like I said, are what, is the only thing I can really stand by for people to look at, because they've tried to move on to the best of their ability with it, and I know a lot of people have thought that's controversial, what about punishment? What about this, that, and the other? Like, well, especially for, us guys down here towards the bottom of the totem pole right now, like, I don't really have much I can give on that. It's like I said, it's an unfortunate situation. I feel bad for them. And obviously he said himself, he goes, what sucks for him is the loss of respect that he's going to have from a lot of people. And cause you got to think, a lot of his businesses were built probably on handshakes back in the day, which is a respect thing, at least where I come from.
100%. So, and a respect thing as well. And I think as well, from like a combat sport where it's like, talk about stoic gentlemen. Like, you look back at that, it's like, people in combat sport, like a man striking a woman is like the biggest red flag and biggest like, fire alert you can really put, because it draws negative attention to combat sports.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it's, again, one of those things where, like, that's going to happen no matter who you are, where you are. There's people that, no matter their relationship on who it is with, there's people are going to make mistakes, is that, I guess, the only thing I can say on that. Again, a very, very bad situation, and how they recover from it from here on out, I hope the best for all of them, especially again, they're worried about their kids, because now they've got to explain that on top of everything else. And I'm sure, you know, me being with my wife just about as long as you have been, like, I couldn't imagine trying to have that conversation on top of the next thing, you know, like your phones, your kids' phones, your relatives' phones, everyone's phones, I guarantee you, are just exploding at the moment, you know. So like it's gotta really be, you know, and he's got to look in the mirror with that, I guess. You know, I really just pretty much only say that about it too, you know. Like it's one of those scenarios that I can really, like I said, I can only speak so much on, because like you said, it's a clip of a moment at a weak point for both of them that went terribly wrong in all shapes and fashions, you know. And like you said,
yeah, we all have those fucking moments, man. We all have those moments where we're like, there's shit we do that we're not proud of, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I have plenty of those myself. I'm sure, you know, if you don't, then, you know, I'm sure you might have lived some sort of crazy white picket fence life that a small percentage of the world's been able to get away with. And, you know, kudos to you. So, you know,
Or you're lying.
yeah, or you're a fucking liar and you're full of shit. So that's definitely the other one.
I mean, surely everyone's got like a skeleton or two in their closet that like they try and fucking keep hidden. But I think like the bigger public figure you are, it just becomes harder to hide that shit. And let's face it, you know, Dana White is probably one of like, you know, if you look at sporting culture from around the world in the last 20 years, like who's bigger than him, especially in combat sport, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, one of the biggest promotions, you know, that was ran with him in the beginning to, you know, the position that he's in now, with how, you know, how everything is kind of spread out and it's its own, you know, multiple entities, because they're adding more places every day with it. You know, I think they're building a facility somewhere in Mexico, I thought I was reading. So, you know, the expansion, don't hold me to that either, but I thought that's what I was reading. But, you know, especially after Brandon Moreno coming in and, you know, winning the belt and stuff, I feel like that's definitely something that would be great for them to do to, you know, his area. But yeah, it's just, you know, the expansion and stuff over time for all of them has just been wild for it to end up to where it is now. So, you know, to get carried over into this thing that we're doing now is just an unbelievable thing, because, you know, like we said, they're really pushing it on the social media thing because it fits that a lot more. Like I said, you know, it fits that a lot more for the actual competitions itself. And then if people want to tune in, like, it's great to have your friends and family be like, I just watched you on TV, bro. What the fuck's going on? And you're like, I don't know, because I still don't understand it. I'm like, who's that guy? I'm like, oh man, I need to not eat so many donuts or something when I was down there. Yeah. I'm like, oh God, get a better angle of myself, you know, self-critic to the max. But, you know, again, you know, the wildest situation to be, you know, having the biggest promotions in the world backing you and, you know, reminding us while we're down there, and, you know, you know, not just Dana himself, but the other people that are down there talking to us, like, when you leave this building after this shooting, you're like, things are going to change. It's not immediately, but it's going to go one day where you've got all these people hitting you up. Everybody's asking for stuff. And they even tell you, like, the people that are not in your house or do not have your best interests, that are there with you from the beginning of this, are going to be coming out of the woodwork, you know, looking for handouts for stuff that, you know, they think that we have, or they think that we're getting, or that they think that they're owed, or they're going to, you know, make some shit up on somebody. So, you know, I'm sure it's going to be a whirlwind for everyone in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, man. Did they give you guys a lot of it sounds like they trained you guys on this. Like, did they train you on like how to prepare for fame almost?
Not really. You know, for me, talking wise, I've had we do a Barefisted is the name of the podcast that some of us from the actual Power Slap League have been doing together. So, you know, sitting here talking to someone over this has been, you know, I've had some practice at it. And then, of course, getting cameras stuck in my face has been helpful. But, you know, everything that I say answer wise is what I'm coming up with, and what I'm, you know, I don't have like things like, there's obviously things I can't say from the show, you know, NDA wise info I can't give out at the moment. But I've never have anyone, you know, don't say this, don't say that, you know, don't talk about these controversial things. Like, I feel like, again, you know, a platform like this where you and I can have a constructive conversation about it, whether we agree or disagree, is the best way to talk about this stuff and, to get it out there.
I absolutely agree myself, man. To be honest, as I said earlier, I think this conversation has been great. Like, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, and I feel I honestly feel like it's gone 20 minutes. And I feel like when you have conversations like this, where you can see like an hour and a half has almost gone past, like, it's been a good conversation where like time has just like gone so quick.
Absolutely.
But in saying that, it is that time of the show. It is time for Guess the Aussie Slang. How this is going to work, I'm going to use an Australian slang word or phrase. The words I'll put in a sentence for Mr. John Davis. He's got to guess what the fuck that I'm saying, and he's going to translate it from Australian to English.
Oh boy.
You've never been to Australia, I take it?
No, I've never even been out of the US, bud.
All right, so this will be an interesting one for you. All right, so we'll try and start off a little bit easy. So this one is fuck me dead, and I'll put it in a sentence for you, and it's not going to be good, quick and easy. It's Jesus Christ, fuck me dead.
Oh, like holy shit. That's like what we'd say over there when something scares the crap out of you.
I'll give that. Yeah, it means like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like, oh, fuck me dead. Sorry to hear that. Or
Okay.
that's surprise. So, okay. So here's another one. G'day, and I'll use it in a sentence. G'day, Cobber. How's it going?
Like a formal greeting, a hello, a hi. Kind of what's going on.
Yeah, there you go. You're getting good at this. All right. So, all right. Now we're going to go for another one. This one is going to be called Root Rat. And I'll put in a sentence. My mate Charles is a dead set root rat.
Dead set root rat. Stuck in his ways, I would assume, because roots are in the ground, maybe.
Shit. No, it actually means he's kind of like a sex pest. He's like he's always on the prowl. He's always trying to get some action, trying to get a bit of ass on the side. You know what I'm saying?
So he's a man whore. Okay, that's what we say over here.
Man whore. All right. Well, there you go. Okay, so here's another one. Okay, this is piss up or drink some piss. Hey, mate, you want to come over to my house? We're going to have a bit of a piss up. Yeah, we're going to drink a shitload of piss.
That's drinking brews with the boys.
Hell yeah, it is, bro.
I'll take that.
All right. So, okay, let's have another one. Here we go. Oh, mate, you fancy a sanger?
Fancy a sanger. Like a shot? Is that a shot?
No, a sanger is a shortened word for a sandwich. One thing you'll know about Australia is we shorten everything, and like even people's names, like we just add either a Y or an O to people's names. So it's like people will say to me, go, "Hey, Piercy, what's going on?" Or "Hey, Pierso."
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, this next one is crack a fat. And I'm going to put it in a sentence. Fuck, did you check her out, mate? She's almost cracked a fat.
She's a good-looking lady walking by that's getting your motor driven.
Yeah, it is. All right, we got a couple more going. Okay, next, this one is swag. Okay, so swag. Oh, mate, I'm a bit tired. I think I need me swag.
Sleep or a nap. Ooh, nope.
No, it's like a single bed you can roll up, kind of like a big sleeping bag.
Okay. Yeah, that one right over my head.
All right, and we'll go another one. This is sickie. Oh, mate, I'll tell you what. I think I might chuck a sickie today.
See, calling sick to work.
Yeah, there you go. You're getting good at this, bro. You're getting good. All right, so I got one more for you, right? This is going to be a multiple. There's going to be multiple in here, and what they're going to be is servo, durries, bottle-o, slab, Maccas, and I'm going to put it all in a sentence to you. So I'm going to say this sentence, and you have to translate it for me.
Okay.
Hey, Jono, you mind going past the servo, pick me up a pack of durries, then maybe swing past the bottle-o, pick up a slab, and then maybe swing past Macca's and grab a feed, eh?
You asking me to pick up smokes, food, and beer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you tell me specifically what is
Hey, which one was it?
Macca's.
Cigarettes? Or like
Macca's and have a feed. A Macca's feed.
A Macca's feed. Like macaroni?
Okay. No. It's McDonald's.
It's McDonald's. Oh shit.
We abbreviate everything. And you know what? Like, funny story, right? Like where I live in a place called Engadine, New South Wales in Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
And the local McDonald's where I live near is famous because our former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, back in 1997, after a football trip and a one too many drinks, was at Engadine Macca's and shit his ass in the parking lot. And that is what that's the suburb I live in, and that's our claim to fame, baby. Our former Prime Minister shit his ass at our local Macca's. That's some Australian shit right there.
Meet me in the shit Macca's parking lot, all right? If you're looking for a fight, that's what I'd say. That's crazy.
But bro, I'll tell you this much, right? Like, you drive past there, and either side there's a building in this McDonald's, right? And one thing has got like a cartoon photo of our ex-prime minister. And it's got 1997 ScoMo. What a shit year!
Oh my god!
Only an Australian prime minister would be famous for shitting his pants at McDonald's. Like,
that's like a pro athlete getting painted on the side of a building after being the main reason they won a championship in like basketball or something. That's fucking crazy. You're a pro shitter, eh?
100%, dude. But dude, look, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I feel like this episode has been great. I'd love to get you back on sometime, man, because I feel like this conversation just flew by.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you very much for reaching out. I appreciate you having me on to, talk about this stuff and try and answer any questions that I can. And, obviously just, great conversation in general about regular stuff too. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, man. Where can everyone find you on social media and start supporting you?
John_Davis_JMD on Instagram. That's where, a lot of this stuff is easiest for me to kind of promote. I'm on Twitter at Mr. John Davis 185. Also on Twitch. You can find the link on my Instagram. And then John Davis on Facebook, but that one's kind of hard to do, with everybody sending me a million friend requests at once. But, again, I'll gladly come back on anytime. Thank you for the platform. Appreciate you, giving me the platform to, put myself out there and hopefully, meet some more people from where you're from. It's freaking awesome, awesome experience, man.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. But I end every interview with this one final question. And that question I'm going to ask you, John, is what question do you wish that I asked you in this interview that I didn't ask you? And how would you have answered that question?
I would say if you would have asked me about the mental fortitude that it takes to do what it is everyone is standing up on that power slap platform is doing, it's, that in itself is a conversation I think to be had, because, it is as much as training in any physical way, shape, or form for this stuff. Mental is a huge part of this game to go up there and be able to win it. And also to have the mental, capacity to have the confidence in yourself to even step up there to attempt this.
Yeah, no, mate, That's great. I think that's definitely a conversation point for part 2 down the track. But John, appreciate your time, man. Appreciate you. And man, best of luck in the future, and look forward to seeing what you guys do.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Oh, and everyone, don't hesitate to check us out at the Barefisted Podcast also. I can't forget that one. Again, thank you very much. This has been an awesome time. Can't wait to be back on and chat some more, man.
That's awesome, man. Thank you very much, guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Make sure you go and check out our sponsors as well. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get yourself 10% off your final purchase. But until next time, take care. All the best. Say hi to your mum for me. Peace.